the numbers are higher, the volume is higher, so to say. So therefore, if more participation comes, I think the effect will be even more dramatic because it comes with their knowledge and skills as well. So both the wealth impact and the expertise impact will be seen. So I'm excited. I think that we will see more participation and more impact from this segment going forward.
Hello and a warm welcome to a very special podcast series, Unusual Suspects. I'm your host, Gaurav Chaudhary. This is a series about unraveling stories of entrepreneurs, investors and businesses, professionals and of course, philanthropists who are disruptors, yet not in your face. Their disruptions have consistently delivered on the purpose and the mission they've embarked on. Their values are as strong as the mission. Unusual Suspects streams on Earshot.in, Spotify.com, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, moneycontrol.com, and a host of other podcast streaming platforms and directories. Welcome to the fourth season of Catalyzing Change, the Power of Philanthropy, in collaboration with Giving Pie, India's first family-focused philanthropy network. Dasra's research on philanthropy highlights that Indian families are an integral part of the Indian economy, contributing approximately 40% to private philanthropy. They contribute through personal giving and CSR initiatives by family-owned and run businesses. As wealth increases and transitions across generations, Indian families are reshaping the philanthropic landscape through investments in bold ideas, funding newer focus areas, and taking a more intentional, system-focused approach to giving. Over the last few seasons, we have spotlighted how philanthropists are stepping up in often overlooked spaces, from mental health and gender equity to animal welfare and the arts. In season 4, we look to the future. Through conversations with philanthropists and change makers, we will explore emerging trends, fresh approaches, and what they signal for the evolving future of Indian philanthropy. In this episode, we'll explore a growing trend in India where we are seeing more and more professionals starting to engage in philanthropy. From tech employees and lawyers to doctors and consultants, these individuals have started giving much earlier in their careers, offering funds as well as being more hands-on with giving their time, mentorship, expertise, and networks. Professionals bringing in their lived experiences, values, and skills into the social sector is clearly an optimistic sign for Indian philanthropy. Joining us today is Prasad Baji, Mumbai chapter chair and board member of Social Venture Partners, SVP India, a platform that enables individuals to engage more meaningfully in philanthropy by connecting them with nonprofits and opportunities to contribute professional expertise as well as capital. After 2 decades in corporate and investment banking, Prasad transitioned to the social sector in 2017. Welcome, Prasad. Delighted to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Prasad, let's look back a bit, and for the benefit of our listeners, my own benefit, let's give us an idea about your journey into philanthropy. When did it all begin? I ask you this question because it kind of also marks a pivot moment in your career. You have spent decades in the finance sector. From the outside, it looks very lucrative, and rightly so. But then you entered this space. So it's a kind of a very clean pivot. And generally, it is not seen from people from your space actually taking this path. What prompted you to transition out of the corporate domain, particularly the finance sector, into the social sector?
Yeah, sure. Happy to share that part of my journey. As you said, I was in the finance sector. Over time, I was fortunate to reach a stage where I was financially secure. My family needs were secure. And therefore, working for money was not a consideration. Work then meant what can give one purpose and fulfillment. And I think you reach a stage at which, at least for me, I reached a stage at which my corporate career was not giving me that purpose and fulfillment. And I was searching, I was introspecting what next. And during that introspection, I ended up with two questions. These are not my questions. I stumbled upon them. And the first question was that you ask yourself, at the end of your working career, what would you feel? You would feel, oh, I should have spent more time in office in my career, or would you feel that I should have spent more time on friends, family, or things that give you purpose, right? I think it's each for each one of us to answer. And there is no right or wrong answer, but the answer that came to me, yeah, I don't want. I think I've spent enough time on in my corporate career. I would like to do something different and something more purposeful. The second question was, fast forward further and imagine you have died, right? How would people like to remember you at your funeral? Again, no right or wrong answers. And when I introspected, I think that was a really aha moment. I felt that I would like to be someone remembered as someone who helped others, right? And that really kind of started driving my transition. I decided I will quit completely. It's not like I will kind of volunteer on the weekend. I will test it out. I knew that I would want to transition completely. It's a little surprising. You will be surprised in the sense that I had never even volunteered with an NGO till that time. Absolutely, there was no inkling, and I therefore kind of jumped straight into the water, so to say. The other thing that has influenced me unconsciously, perhaps as I reflect, are my maternal grandparents who were freedom fighters. They gave up their careers, they gave up their personal comfort for the nation. And therefore, somewhere there was a germ laid for, that you need to serve the society, you need to serve your nation in some ways. So I think those were some of the consideration for me to transition from the corporate sector to the social sector.
Prasad, it's very interesting, but it's very interesting you say that you actually had very little experience in working in the social sector. And there were triggers that prompted this decision, also at the personal level. Now, having said that, however, you have now been involved in philanthropy for a few years now, in fact, several years now. Some of the challenges you have encountered in this journey, I'm sure there would have been experiences of challenges that would have cropped up probably that you would not have anticipated or probably you would not have imagined. And how have you navigated them?
Yeah, I think several, of course. Firstly, understanding the social sector takes time. It's a very different world from the for-profit world or the corporate world. So you need to have a learner's mindset. Come from first principles, not have preconceived notions, and figure out the sector and figure out eventually how your knowledge and skills can be applied to the social sector. So that's one. Second challenge is that social change is very slow and much more complex. As I keep saying, making cement bags, with all due respect to cement companies, making cement bags is easier changing many people, right? So you need to be patient in social change, think long term, and be prepared to pivot, experiment, and innovate. The other thing is that we need to develop our empathy quotient. So if you don't have an empathy quotient, it's going to be an issue. So listen carefully. Do not impose yourself on a not-for-profit. Understand the challenges and see how you can help them. Right. So I think that's key. Finally, I would say achieving scale is not easy and far more difficult, I feel, than in the corporate sector due to the challenges that I mentioned. You need to get understanding, therefore, what works, what doesn't work, and what works needs to be also replicated with much more efficient use of resources, because this really is a resource scarce sector, right? So these are some of the challenges that I encountered, Gaurav, in my philanthropic journey so far.
Prasad, as a professional yourself, what role do you see this cohort of givers playing in Indian philanthropy? Because Indian philanthropy, compared to say, the more mature economies in the West, Europe and the US particularly, is still we have still not entered the high noon phase. So, as a professional yourself, what role do you see of givers playing as philanthropy, particularly in the kind of work that you're doing, actually gathers pace and will probably canter on to a faster lane in the next few years?
Yeah, firstly, the professional givers, as you say, this demographic segment has seen significant prosperity due to economic growth. Obviously, which is raising salaries, and equally capital markets providing wealth boost due to the investments, raise of variety of reasons. And it's been now over 30 years since the economic liberalization of 1991, right? And 30 is a long time. There have been a lot of positive benefits. There is a lot of compounding of wealth and, in general, prosperity that has happened. And so, therefore, we have been harvesting these benefits for some years now. And that really is important because you can't give if you're not strong enough, right? How can anybody help someone if they are not capable and strong themselves, right? So, therefore, this generation of professional givers, which has participated in this, is financially better off. And also, I sense that they're at a stage where the propensity to give is higher, the consciousness of the social sector, the consciousness to support good causes is becoming much higher. Obviously, this segment brings very unique characteristics that they can bring to bear their knowledge, skills, and connects for social impact. And it has started to happen, with networks like Social Venture Partners. As I said, I'm part of it. SVP Social Venture Partners is India's largest platform for engaged philanthropy for individuals. And by that, what we mean is that the individuals or the philanthropists are giving not just their money, but their time and expertise. So it's a structured manner of contributing to social impact. And therefore, platforms like these are obviously also helpful in their giving. Uh, Overall, I feel the impact from this segment of professional givers is going to be also, overall impact is also going to be critically driven by the extent of participation. So while the wealth has grown in this segment, obviously this wealth is not as big as the UHNI wealth, right? Wealth per individual here, or even the HNI. There are some HNI individuals in this segment, but obviously the wealth is lower. But the numbers are higher, right? The volume is higher, so to say. So therefore, if more participation comes, I think the effect will be even more dramatic because it comes with their knowledge and skills as well. So both the wealth impact and the expertise impact will be seen. So I'm excited. I think that we will see more participation and more impact from this segment going forward.
Prasad, it did allude to the challenges. What have been the top learnings, some of the top learnings you have had in your giving journey so far? Of course, there's the joy of giving that only you experience when you get involved in it. But on a professional side, what are the approaches that have worked well for you and your peers?
I think on the learnings, the size of our social problems is very large and has grown over the years. And some of these are centuries old, like gender, for example, and very, very, very entrenched as such. The resources and management bandwidth we have devoted to it have been far lower than what is required to solve the problem. Again, as I said, it's a resource constrained sector. There are far more resources in the corporate sector to solve the problems that they are attacking, but not so the social sector. So I think that issue is there. What one can do is one can still impact some lives, right? So I think we need to uh, at least attack a part of the problem and see what impact we can do. So I think that's one learning that I had. The second is, as an individual philanthropist, you have obviously more limited capital to deploy than, let's say, the larger corporates or UHNIs. So, we need to think differently as an individual philanthropist. Instead of funding the same causes or having the same approach as the larger donors, I think the professional givers can do different stuff. So one is support underserved segments. Example, women. I mean, women is a very small proportion, by the way, of CSR funding. A lot of the funding, pure women related causes. So women, environment, geographic areas like the Northeast, marginalized communities like denotified tribes, LGBTQ communities. So there are a number of segments, and you can choose what you want, which are underserved by the other funders. Can we look at them as such as individual philanthropists? Can we as individual philanthropists fund pilots and innovation, which may not require a large amount of capital, right? Prove that concept, and then it is then pitched and hopefully adopted by larger funders. And lastly, can we look at providing unrestricted, flexible funding? For example, CSR funding by law has certain restrictions. It is effectively program funding. I think CSR donors are also evolving, maturing, but they have limitations. They cannot fund certain things. So, can we, as individual philanthropists, fund those gaps? Can we do organization building? Can we do capacity building? Which are harder to raise for capital. Right. The other learning is to focus on outcomes and impact. Right. I mean, this may seem obvious, but a lot of donors end up focusing on cost. Acha, what is your program cost? How much are your overheads? Oh, you should reduce overheads. We hear this quite frequently, right? I mean, at the end, I believe that focusing on the overheads, the program cost, has its limitations. It's as Brisbane has pointed out, pay what it takes. You look at the outcomes and then you pay what it takes. You support to extent that it takes to achieve that outcome, right? So don't focus on the overheads and organization expenses. Follow trust-based philanthropy. Very, very important. I think do all your diligence prior to the grant. Be as cautious as possible prior to the grant. But once you select an NGO or a not-for-profit support, just back them fully. Give multi-year unrestricted funding, offer non-financial support. As they say in poker, just go all in, right? So therefore, it is important to treat the not-for-profit as equal partners. Avoid the superiority complex. Come from a position of humility. So I think those are another learnings and approaches that one can use. I think on causes, this is a very classic one, right? People focus on certain causes. There's absolutely nothing wrong. And I used to also think, oh, livelihood is more important. It will give economic empowerment, etc. But today, I think I realize that all causes are worthy, right? Livelihood is important. So is educating a child. So is rescuing and rehabilitating a trafficked woman, right? And so is palliative care for terminally ill individuals where death is visible. I mean, somebody would say, hey, what's the use of helping this guy? He's going to die. But, it's a very cynical way. But people say that, right? Helping a migrant in COVID times to reach his home. I mean, all these causes are worthy causes. I, for example, no longer feel that, one cause is like a better cause or something like that. So my view now is that, our resources are limited. We will select certain causes, but we never believe that your selected causes are in some way more worthy of support than others. All causes are great. And if you can be sector agnostic or cause agnostic, I would feel that's the ideal situation.
Prasad, finally, let's look into the crystal ball again. Let's gaze into the future. And there's a new wave of professionals, which is a very, very professions like you, which is a very, very optimistic trend. And professions like you bring in a lot of expertise and also a very strong outside-in view to philanthropy. How can this new wave actually, people like you entering philanthropy, be further engaged and widen we can cast a net wider for engaging people like you to support India's Viksit Bharat vision of 2047. After all, if we are to be developed, I think the social sector cannot be a laggard, and this will require a greater degree of involvement of professionals like you. Are there any actionable steps that you think you can share with us?
Great question, Gaurav. So I think one is to significantly enhance the awareness, understanding of the social sector, and elevate the visibility and standing of a social purpose organization. Today, if people you are asked to name the top corporates of the country, you will name them without hesitation. People will reel out, maybe people will reel out all the Nifty 50, top 50 companies also, right? But try to name the top 10 NGOs or social purpose organizations in the country. How many people will be able to do it? I doubt. Again, the CEOs of the top corporates, everybody knows. Do we know the CEOs of these social purpose organizations? Do we see the challenges that they are facing? How, in spite of all the resource constraint, all the stuff that I mentioned, they are soldiering on for social impact. So, can we give them the same level of standing? Can we have the same level of awareness about them? And therefore, then support will follow, right? As such. So that's one thing that I would love to do. Of course, it's easier said than done. It's a segment by itself. Can we have more actionable research? I think there is some research in the sector, and Dasra itself is a great organization. They have produced amazing research. How can we have more actionable research? How can we, from that research, sort of push people into supporting organizations? How can we do that? Can we make donations more efficient and frictionless? I think it's definitely we are on that path. There is ease of accessing information on NGOs, but can we have trusted acquisition, easier information? There are giving platforms. Definitely, that's been a big change. Can we make it even more easier? So therefore, if somebody wants to donate, it should be like, the UPI payments that you make, it's very quick. We are getting there, but can we make it even better? Finally, one other thought, we have, in the for-profit world, the bank RMs and wealth RMs. Can we have philanthropic relationship managers, philanthropic arms? Obviously, very, very costly. So, but if we can have it, clearly, it will give a lot of support to professional givers and any giver actually, if these are well-informed, skilled, well-equipped, and they can really advise the professional givers to deploy their philanthropic capital. I agree that it is an expensive route. So can we use AI tools? We are talking about AI applications which are almost human-like, right? Can we use AI then to do this? And in fact, can we leverage technology in philanthropy in the social sector? I think that's going to be a big one if we can do. The other thing is volunteering platforms. Actually, India does have a fair number of volunteering platforms. There is Bhumi, based out of Chennai. There is I Volunteer. We need to spread awareness about them. And how can how can this be integrated with the RM approach or the AI tools approach that I mentioned? So therefore, the RM or AI tool will help you donate easily, identify causes, donate easily, and also give you volunteering opportunities, right? And of course, there is SVP which can do all of this. But clearly, this needs to be done further as such. So that's what I would say, Gaurav.
Thanks, Prasad. Thanks for sharing your deep insights and perspectives on a range of issues. Thanks for taking the time out and dropping by to have this conversation with us. It was a delight to speak to you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thanks so much.